What's popping my collars? Are you ready for some more Macrom mods featuring a shit ton of new towers and the usual semi-offensive custom chat emotes? I hope you are, because once again there won't be any footage for you at 4.7 right now because as of this commentary, which is late Friday night, the update still hasn't dropped for iOS or Steam, and I haven't heard back yet about the server issues being fixed. That's probably cause it's the weekend and nobody ever gets shit fixed then, so we'll have to roll with these mods in the meantime unfortunately. Luckily it's still quite fresh, so I got a lot of content that I can go through in this Macrom mod. Speaking of which, go check out the modding Discord that I'll link in the description in case you want to download it. So after my fire/ice tower showcase in the first video for this mod, I'm going to continue with another mildly interesting tower that I'll call the Ice Wizard, which is probably the most appropriate name you can give it considering what it does. It shares a lot of similar traits with the wizard such as the chain lightning, mini bolts and of course the damn visuals, and the ice element comes from the fact that its projectiles freeze balloons on top of popping them. You get to see this right off the bat with the 0-0 upgrade, which costs a dirt cheap $575 considering what you get out of it is this. Decent attack speed, and ice bolts that can pop and freeze up to 5 balloons at a time. You really can't get better value with no upgrades than this aside from the fire and ice tower. That's power creep for you I suppose. The only way to deal with such ridiculously ramped up AI balloons is with extra starting eco and stronger towers. Anyways, here are the first tier upgrades. I apologize in advance for pretty much ignoring everything going on in the battle with this commentary because there's a lot of wacky shit going on that most of you will probably require assistance on figuring out what does what, namely the higher tier Ice Wizard towers that I haven't talked about yet, and that road ability that takes the place of road spikes that looks like it spawns cards all over the map for a few seconds. Not to worry, I'll talk about the higher tier upgrades as they are being utilized in the second game, but for now let's just explain the cards thing I guess. Well, there isn't much to explain really. As you saw, it's a great thing to use when you're in some deep shit. 2 of those saved my ass against a massive regrow farm earlier on, so now I'm all out of those get out of jail free cards. So yeah, let's get back on topic with the tower rundown. The right side appears to be a pretty inefficient upgrade on paper if you ask me. 2 extra pierce for $500 gives you 7 pierce, but why buy that when you can just get 2 base ice wizards and they'll give you 10 pierce for roughly the same amount? Thinking. Left side is pretty dope though. Think of it working like that dirt cheap ice upgrade that slows down old balloons when they get unfrozen, and this one's also dirt cheap at $300. Not much else to say, so let's move along just to make it through. Here's the second tier upgrades, which pretty much mirror the original wizard tower. All that lightning you see on my screen is the result of this $1,600 freeze bolt upgrade, and as you would expect it behaves like normal chain lightning except every balloon affected also becomes frozen. How cool is that? No pun intended. And then your right side is just your usual boring combo detection upgrade, nothing else to see here. So as we begin our next match and wait for the more exciting parts to come, let me answer a question real quick. It didn't exactly seem like it was directed towards me, but I'll answer it anyways. Sun God asks why Tyler, aka my opponent for these games, get more views than I do. I mean, considering our sub count difference is only 6,000, it isn't that far-fetched that he would have a higher viewership, but to actually answer your question, the difference is that Tyler got some of his new videos to blow the fuck up and mine didn't. That's basically it. Sometimes you just have to pray to the YouTube algorithm that your video gets chosen to be plastered everywhere, cause before his blow up Tyler was well below me in views, and my viewership has been pretty steady over the past 5 months due to the longevity of my older videos. Hope that answers your question. It's pretty back and forth between me and Tyler in the YouTube game though. He was obviously a much larger channel than mine in the far past. But after his hiatus I took over, and now he's right back in the driver's seat. So yeah, third tier upgrades ladies and gentlemen, this is where things get real interesting. Let's start with the left side, called Ice Breath. It's at a pretty high price point of $3,400, and what it does is spew out ice balls and nearby balloons. So that's what you're seeing from one of the upgraded ice wizards at the moment, just shooting out a shit ton of ice pellets in a scattered pattern towards the balloons. Really interesting upgrade, and I'm genuinely curious to know how they were able to implement this. Nonetheless, shit's pretty OP if you ask me. And I do worry a little bit because all those projectiles on the screen is a big candidate for a lag issue come late game, assuming we get that far. We'll have to see. On the right side third tier we got a stun projectile boys. On top of the already freezing bolt, the ice wizard occasionally sends out a yellow bolt that behaves like a glaive ricochet and stuns balloons along its path in the process, for a whopping 3 seconds. Yeah. As if the ability to stall balloons by freezing them wasn't enough, this upgrade pretty much renders everything up to Moab's practically useless, since it appears the stun has an insane area of effect. I mean, just look at all those balloons getting stuck at the top of the track right now. Not to mention this shock bolt is even cheaper than the ice pellets at $2,750. I have a hard time deciding which is better because ice pellets also do pretty decent damage to Moabs, so why not both? We got plenty of room for each side on this 2 times around track. Alrighty, now for the best part of these showcases, the ultimate 4th tier upgrades and its ability. Starting off with the 4th tier left side, which oddly is the side that includes the ability. Normally it should be the right side that contains the ability, but oh well, doesn't really make a difference I guess, but it may trigger those with OCD. So this upgrade called Ice Sign, Perfect Freeze makes it so these ice pellets now constantly shoot out from the ice wizard in all directions, further increasing its Moab popping power. With that said, it's probably a wise idea to gang up on all these ice-generating wizards and plop them in that middle circle so it can affect the entire track, but silly me didn't think before doing and got some of the right side ice wizards in there instead. Speaking of which, I should explain what it does and why it's a better idea to have them not in the center. But before that, the ability. If the 50% slow ninja ability is one of the strongest abilities in the OG version of Battles, this ability will literally break the game. 90%, yes, all balloons speed are cut by 90% for 6 seconds. Not as long as the 15 seconds for the ninja, but that's besides the point. A 90% cut of anything in this mod is insane. Well, except for the balancing skill of whoever was in charge of pricing and designing these tower, because taking 90% off of 0 still makes 0, kappa. Hope that didn't offend whoever I was talking about. It's all in good fun. I've said much worse things before, believe me. Anyways, about the right side 4th tier upgrade, it's got some more balloon stalling, fun. This time it affects Moabs, and honestly this one feels pretty balanced. It shoots out another big shot bolt over a very long cooldown that stuns Moabs for 200 brief milliseconds. Obviously combined with everything else this tower has to offer, this stun bolt's power is greatly amplified, but on its own 0.2 seconds feels pretty fair. Stack a bunch together though and you'll get to see its true power. By the way, I skipped far forward in this game because as you can see, it's destined to go super #epic late game. I was told this mod was made for short games because of how strong AI Bloons are, but I guess they didn't account for what would happen once both players get over the early to mid-game hump. Over on Tyler's side he's got another OP as shit tower that shoots out giant tornadoes that blow back even ZOMGs. Alongside some other weird towers that I have no idea what they do at the moment. And yeah, over on my side I've basically covered the entire land with ice wizards with a call to arms village mixed in here and there, as well as a couple of those balloon trap towers I've placed on the track. Practically 99% of my popping power is going to be coming from these ice wizards though, which is a little problematic because that isn't quite its strength. Like I seem to be doing just fine right now, but that's only because I can stall so damn well. Notice how quickly Tyler is taking down his balloons compared to mine. I imagine if I had a real late game tower I'd be literally unstoppable, but to be honest not doing so is probably a blessing in disguise because you guys know how much I hate super duper epic late game. I've said it before and I'll say it again, ain't nobody got time for that. Thankfully the lag wasn't as bad as I would have expected from 1000 ice pellets covering the screen, so that meant I was still able to micromanage my abilities and shit like that. Anyways, I think you and I have seen enough, so I'll be cutting it off here. Again, still waiting on 4.7 and I'm ready as hell to tell you all my thoughts about it. It just wouldn't make sense for me to talk about it extensively when the video it's on is pretty much completely unrelated to that. So yeah, as per usual I admire likes and comments about anything. Perhaps you can throw some more new questions at me as I've been slacking on answering those recently. Have a stationary day.